else.
Well, what happened was she scooched, did you help her scooch the Coke? Okay, so that Coke fridge, over.
You guys good?
No, we were talking about the Coke machine, it's nice.
We're good, go ahead.
Good evening and welcome to the Alumni Field Renovation and Advisory Design Committee, or there's a bunch of letters, Afrac. We have, looks like a kind of a big agenda tonight, but we will be kind of plowing right through it. So at 7:35, we call the meeting to order. We will have review of the agenda, which is right now. And we'll have the public input, member input. And for member input, we really haven't done that in the past, and it's just kind of something that we do on the Board of Selectmen. And if anybody needs to bring something up that isn't necessarily either part of the agenda, or if you you feel as though there's something that needs to be said that you weren't able to say it at a previous meeting or whatnot, feel free to give us your input at that point. A basic committee update. I figure between you and I, Mike, we could do that. Not sure if you're aware that I put you down as a part of that.
Okay.
PNBC update from Carl to kind of give us a state of the union and find out where we're at with the bids that we sent out. A timeline. I'd like to try to begin to create the alumni field renovation, the alumni facility renovation timeline, so that we can know how frequently we need to meet and what the expectations can and will be. We'll have another opportunity for public input. Then we'll schedule our next meetings. And if there are any potential presenters, you guys can bring those up at that point, and then we'll adjourn. So hopefully we'll be able to get through this in a relatively quick fashion. So right off the bat, we will open it up to the public. If anybody's got anything they'd like to say, public input, just address the board by introducing yourself and your address. And anybody? Okay, good, okay. All right, so member input. Does anybody have anything in particular? Julie?
So I was just thinking it would be good, given the compressed timeline, and I know that was something that you guys spoke about, I think on Tuesday at the Selectmen's meeting, but given the compressed timeline and the fact that our engineer is not here tonight, I feel like we need to request from them a list of decisions that they need from us. And I know like some of the things would be like field surface, the number of people we want to see, like, sharing things like the MIAA desire to potential, just to be considered, just things like that. And so I feel like, and maybe you guys are going to touch on it, but I feel like we need to request from them what they need to know.
That jives along with something that I was thinking about. So Carl will talk a little bit about, there was a PNBC meeting last night, so Carl will talk about that. But some of that was we weren't talking about what the list of priorities and decision points had to be, but we talked about the need for it. So they were already talking about that last night.
Okay.
So I think we should take that up, and I think that will go maybe into Chuck's calendar idea too, because we can fit that all in there, and I think that's going to be a good discussion that we're going to have tonight.
Okay.
So.
Yep.
Good?
Good.
Great. Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, real quick, tomorrow night on Alumni Field, varsity football starts off their season, 7 p.m. against Tingsboro. So anybody wants to come down and check it out.
Nice.
Michael?
One of the things that I'd like to see us do, and kind of maybe talk about it later on in the agenda too, is bringing Mike Lynn back in. When he came in originally, we weren't able to record his presentation. I think he has, his presentation was pretty valuable in my eyes. So I think it's something we should think about doing. I know we're gonna have a lot to do design-wise and things like that once the design firm comes on. But if we have a lull in any of the agendas, we should try to work that out with him, get him in here so it can be recorded, so the rest of the town can view his presentation.
Yeah.
That's good input. I think that'd be important. I think
it'd actually be good to publicize it really well too. So, I think based on his presentation, there could be a lot of potential questions that could be answered by him.
so. I'm just going to kind of piggyback on that, and we'll go back around. But I think it's important not only to bring Mike in, but also any other coaches that would potentially benefit from the renovation. I spoke with Diane Corey actually at the polls, which is kind of why I was a little bit late. But I think any coaches that at least for the high school level, that would potentially benefit from a renovation. I think we should bring them in and kind of get their input and what their wish lists are as well. So maybe on the night that we do Mike, we can also bring in, he can act as both the football coach and the athletic director.
Sure.
Athletic director for the presentation and then the football coach. But that's a good idea. I think that'd be valuable. What about you, Tom? Any, basically an opportunity just for members to give input.
To piggyback on what Mike said is, Littleton's 8th grade team is playing Sunday morning at 11:30 at Alumni Field against West Boylston. So come on down, check us out.
Good deal. What's up?
Do you want a commercial for field hockey?
Absolutely, why not?
You guys can come down if you want, and you'd be horrified when you go to see the field, but, I think I sent you an email, but I agree with Mike 100%. I think that when we had the last town meeting, Julie's presentation was really good, and it was very, informative, and I think that it was too bad that Mike's presentation didn't follow yours, because I think it could have showed, kind of two sides of things, so I think we should prepare for that. That was one, so I completely agree with you. And then the other thing, right after I sent that to you, Chuck, about the fundraising, I saw all the other emails and I realized, oh, we actually really are, I was just a little in the dark, probably from being on vacation and stuff, but I think all the fundraising efforts that Cindy has already kind of been working on, if we had it's Cindy, right? You're in charge of a lot of.
Cindy, Jackie.
Okay,
Karen.
all of you guys.
Oh, yeah.
I think if we had a one-pager too, because inevitably, people are saying, well, what about cost for rakes? And, those are all good points, but they tend to sidetrack us, I think. So I think if we have that set, that, we've thought it through and these are, maybe some estimates of what we think we're gonna raise, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Yep, people are definitely interested in the fundraising piece.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So if that was
definitely things I'm
prepared
hearing
ahead of
was,
time, just
you
like
know.
the video, if we had all those things,
Yeah.
so that we're not scrambling.
Good. Thank you. Carl? This isn't your PMBC update right now.
I'll save it for the agenda.
Okay, Mike?
I don't have anything. The only suggestion I would make is, I think we should let Carl go with the PMBC update before we go forward with anything else.
I think you're probably right there, yeah. No, good point. Actually, I'm gonna kind of call on you guys and put you on the spot a little bit. Melissa teed it up, speaking about the fundraising efforts that are going on. You guys are putting a lot of work in. Do you mind just maybe doing a little public service announcement about whatever fundraising efforts with the events that you've got scheduled to raise funds for the maintenance of alumni?
Sure, we can do that. Jackie, do you want to do it? You want me to do it? I'll color commentary. Okay, so we have two,
Can you just identify yourself?
oh, I'm sorry, Cindy Napoli, 47 Springfield Drive, Littleton. We have two major fundraising events coming up in the short term. The first one that's coming up is 100 Good Men on September 22nd, and that is a 100% of those proceeds are actually 50% of those proceeds are earmarked towards the Alumni Field Maintenance Fund. And what that event is, it's at the Billiards Cafe and Air, and we're hoping to gather 100 good men who are willing to donate $100 to this event, and we're going to take 50% of those proceeds, like I said, and keep it for the Maintenance Fund Committee, and then we're going to take the other 50% and divide it between two local charities. So it's basically a great opportunity, to network. The Patriots versus the Texans are playing that night. We're going to have food, we're going to have a cash bar. We're getting 10% of the proceeds from the bar back to us from Calvin. And so we already have we have like close to 50 men already signed up. Then we have a lot of great charities already donated to benefit. Local charities can benefit, like the Loaves and Fishes, the Littleton Youth Baseball. So it really should be a fun event. So we're trying to get the word out there and rally not only new people to sign up, but people that have already signed up to bring friends. So the second fundraiser is...
Can I just stop you right there real quickly?
Sure.
So the second 50% goes to the Alumni Field Maintenance, which is awesome.
Yeah.
The other 50%, I think you mentioned it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Everybody that volunteers gets an opportunity
They do.
to
They get
nominate.
two charities. So what we're gonna do at halftime is pick 2 charities out of a hat, and immediately, the other 50% of those proceeds are gonna be divided between those 2 charities.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's actually a great opportunity, and it's a great opportunity for other programs in town to make money for their organizations as well.
Right.
So we're trying to really get the word out there about that. And then the second fundraiser is in conjunction with the Field Maintenance Committee and the boosters. And so, because the clothing trailer was moved from Donlands to the high school, we are in a crisis mode with uniforms for the athletic teams at the high school and middle school level. We have 5 teams that need uniforms. So what we're doing is this fundraiser, and we're going to try to, we're going to raise money. Part of it's going to go towards the uniforms, and the other part is going to go towards the field maintenance fund. So, and it's Rock of Ages. We have 2 bands playing.
October 1st.
October 1st at the Billiards again. We have the Reeves playing and another band called Slack. And we're going to have raffle baskets and a 50-50 raffle.
Awesome.
Yeah.
In addition, we've also started to develop a corporate sponsorship framework with sort of a good, better, best schematic, scheme to it. And we have developed a bunch of ideas that we're kind of talking through still.
Right.
In the hopes of approaching corporate sponsors in a way that is programmatic and repeatable. Not that these events are not repeatable, but
Right.
something that is a little more business-based versus event-based. So here we're relying on residents and friends to support and seed the fund, whereas this is a repeatable programmatic approach to fundraising for the maintenance fund, so that it's something that we can rely upon 1 to 3 years out, let's say. So there's some different levels of corporate sponsorship that we have
Right.
put together. Some are really fun, some are really just very marketing focused, both passive and active marketing for potential sponsors, so we're working on that as well.
I would just like to, a little shout out to the Billiard Cafe. They obviously, they're doing this, they've done other things where they've hosted Littleton groups and events. And
Right.
clearly there's something in it for them, so it's not strictly altruism that gets them to do it, but they're very good hosts, and they've done a great job when I've gone
Kevin's
there for
great.
different events,
Right.
yeah.
He
So,
likes the fact that we bring new people into his
Yeah.
business.
yeah,
But he's also very accommodating to us. As,
Right.
we've done, the boosters have done fundraisers there for years.
Yeah.
He lets us bring in our own food. He gives
Yeah.
us back 10% on the bar. He's definitely been a great asset to helping our local programs, so it's been great.
And you in the back, ma'am, what's your
My
name?
name is Jackie Sagal, 74 in Neshoba.
Thank
And
you.
the 2 events are intended to really seed the fund and to get that going so that
Right.
we arrive at town meeting with some seed money in the fund, in the account. And then to have a strategy for maintaining and constantly getting money into the fund to keep it going.
Right.
It will help us once we have a number to work toward, and I think that there's some numbers within the town currently that we need to unravel to figure out what really is applied to the maintenance of the field so that we can backfill to that or work to that number. I don't think that we can do it alone, from a committee standpoint.
Chuck.
I think, we need, but that's kind of where we're at.
Right. It's going to be an ongoing effort, absolutely.
Thank you. Mike. All right, so some great opportunities for folks to come out, and I think it's fantastic. Thank you for stepping up and getting this going. Similar to what the LTO did with the track, where they do the road race every year, and it is something that's repeatable, and they raise funds in order to help to maintain the track. So I see this kind of going in that same direction, and I love the 100 Good Men. It's just an opportunity not only to help seed this, but also to help other
Right.
charities, local charities, that people can feel like they were part of. Not only did they give their money, but they got to nominate their own charity to try to get the money to go to that charity. So it's kind of
Real quick check, were people emailed on the 100 Good Men, or can they go to a site to sign up to be?
They
One of-
can, 100goodmen.100@yahoo.com, and plus we have a Facebook page.
Okay.
But yes, the people have been emailed as well.
They've been
We've all
we've done
personally-
mass emails, it's been on Facebook, it's gonna be in the Action Unlimited.
Okay.
So we're really trying to you know, have a last
It's out there.
minute effort.
I've gotten notified like 7 times. Different
So tell your friends,
methodologies.
Mike.
Yes.
It's like the Fabergé commercials. I tell 2 friends, and I used to have hair.
You just dated.
Back in the day.
And so on.
Yeah, thank you.
And I
Appreciate
shaved
that.
myself.
Did you pick on Chuck Knight?
Apparently.
Apparently. All right, so member updates. I was going to mention the football game tomorrow night. I'm sorry. Next Field Hockey game is tomorrow,
Yeah,
right? So let's get it out there. This, I mean,
They already had one game.
yeah,
they
yesterday.
won 6-0 yesterday, right? Right,
Yeah.
6-0.
All right.
Yeah, so we're off to a good start. All right, so the next item on the agenda was the PNBC update.
Okay.
So we will not do anything else before we do that. But Carl, if you could kind of bring us up to date with where we're at relative to the PNBC, relative to the bids that we put out, and whatever you see as valuable to us.
Well, the selection committee did make a choice for architect design. Normally, that wouldn't be announced until there was an actual signed contract, but I don't think it's very much of a secret who we
chose.
who we selected. But we did have a representative from Gale, and at the PMBC meeting last night, the schedule that came out of that was we would have, they would come back with their proposal, we call it that, on the 14th. Following week, we would execute the contract. And then on the 28th, there'd be the kickoff meeting.
Okay. All right, so 28th at PNBC.
Right.
All right.
And we will not have an OPM for the design phase. It will be structured in 2 parts, one being all the flat work, the field and the bleachers, and another separate contract and award for construction of any buildings. So neither one of which would kick off the requirement for an OPM.
Okay.
Not that we had any money for it anyway.
All right, so Gale Associates was selected to be the design construction firm.
Yeah.
And I know that they have operated as OPMs in the past. I know they've been clerks of the works. So I can kind of surmise that if we are able to negotiate the contract, which it seems like for all intents and purposes, that's a done deal.
Yeah.
Kind of a rubber stamp. We'll move forward with Gale. And will they in fact act as the clerk of the works? Or-
Yes, yeah, he was instructed last night to be sure and include clerk of the works in there. We just have to decide if we want, is it gonna be somebody 40 hours a week or 20 or what it is.
Okay.
And he was still saying that, you know, they can meet our requirement for the number, but it's incumbent upon us, the town, to make the decisions
Quickly.
quickly.
So as far as the timeline, they feel as though it's still feasible.
Yeah,
And they've got all the resources in-house to be able to they have a cost estimator in-house. It's not like they have to wait for someone to come back with all the cost estimation, and so all that stuff they do themselves, so they don't have to wait for a
yeah,
consultant.
for the flat work, yeah.
Right. And so for any buildings that we were going to do, that would be a separate contract,
And a
and they would oversee
independent
that.
cost estimator.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
Now, does that second phase have to go out to bid again?
yes.
It does. So Gale may not indeed be,
Well, I mean, it would be the construction phase
Construction
would be,
portion of it.
yeah. Not the design, but the construction phase would be.
so are we back with the PMBC for the second, are we here again when we start before we do the second phase?
No, so the way we're moving forward is, so the OPM, it was determined that under Mass General Law, we were able to basically divide the project into 2 separate pieces.
Right.
With the flat work, as Carl calls it, the field and the bleachers. are not considered structures.
Yep.
And they don't exceed a certain dollar amount, so there's no OPM necessary for that. And the value of the structures, if you will, if we did concessions, bathrooms, team buildings, whatever else, they wouldn't hit the tipping point for us to need an OPM once we separate those out. So we can, once Gail designs everything and brings us back, which is kind of under that $235,000 that was approved in May, they design everything, bring it forward to us, all the bid documents. There'll be 2 bid documents. One bid document will be to do the field and the bleachers and the press box, and one will be to do the structures and the other improvements. So when it goes out to bid, to actually bring it to town meeting to get approved, there would be 2 different contractors that would, it could potentially be one, but there would be 2 different bids that would go out. So somebody could, RAD could win the bid to do the field work, and then SBC could end up getting the buildings.
Okay.
And Gail would oversee that. Fair enough explanation?
That was, yeah.
And what our goal is right now is to have Gail do the design, come up with the bid documents and the numbers that can be approved at fall town meeting, and then those bid packages would go out in, February.
Okay.
And then nothing would be required of town meeting again, hopefully, unless there was projects creep or something along those lines. But if the bids go out and they come in on the numbers that were approved by town meeting, they'll just execute.
Okay.
And the build will happen.
Right.
If we get the approval at town meeting this fall. If we get there and we get the approval.
Yeah, so it's two pieces there. Right. Need to be able to get the number to town meeting in order to be voted on, and once it's voted on, if approved, then they would move forward with getting the bids out.
And the time between the fall, if everything's successful in February, is just to plan all that out.
Well, to tighten up, prepare the bid docs and yeah, it gives us an opportunity to go from maybe an 80% plan to a 100% plan.
Yeah.
And actually put them out there and say, okay, this is critical,
And
we need
lead
to
time
get
on
this done.
materials and all that. Okay.
Yeah, so lead time on materials isn't, all that information.
Okay.
So just quickly, so I make sure the notes are accurate. So because we're separating it into 2 phases, neither one targets the need for OPM, and is that because phase 2, the buildings are such a small budget, is that why it doesn't trigger? Is that essentially what's happening?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
$1.5 million is the tipping point.
Okay, right, and so if you add, got it. Yep, makes sense.
As far as the notes are concerned, I appreciate you doing this for us, but with Sheila not here, Julie's gonna do the minutes for us. Really, all you have to record, it's great to take as much notes as you want to, and I think you typically do, that's why I asked you.
Sure.
But you really just need to record general discussion and then any votes that we take. That's
Oh,
all
okay.
all that's required.
Okay,
So I don't want you to stress out about it and.
okay. I also
Plus-
wanted
plus
to
we gotta
understand too.
Replay tonight.
You're asking,
Plus we get
you're
it,
asking for your own edification.
Oh, I
Ask
did wanna
away.
understand.
Yeah,
I did
no,
want to understand as well.
That's good. But I just,
But I wrote the sentence, neither one targets the need for OPM, and that was
Correct.
contrary to what I had understood in the past, so.
right, because
clarify.
it was all
Yeah.
coming forward.
And I think a lot of other people would probably wonder that too. Like, how do we all of a sudden not trigger this?
Absolutely.
And so that makes sense. The budget, it's the structure plus the budget.
Right, and so
is what
through
triggers
the process with the selection committee, we kind of vetted that out and realized we really don't need to have an OPM on this project. And because of the speed at which we were moving, I think, and kind of getting thrown in that curveball in the 11th hour, saying, hey, you need an OPM now, we had to put that bid together, get it into the central registry. None of us really sat back and looked at it to say, do we really?
Yeah.
And so we had an opportunity with, Steve Moore is on the PNBC with Carl, and Steve, this is what he does.
Yep.
So he was able to shed some light on it, and he can give you chapter and verse of what Mass General Law and the bid contracts and all that kind of stuff. So he kind of gave us some advice, and he was on the selection committee as well.
Yep, I remember.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah. Well, it's for folks at home. All right. Carl, you
Any
good?
questions? Yeah,
You guys have any questions of Carl? Mind if I open it up, see if anybody else has any questions?
go ahead.
Anybody? Kelly?
Kelly Mullen, Washington, 25 Washington Drive. Just for clarification, where do pathways and additional lighting if necessary, does that fall with the flat build or the building build?
That would be, I would say, part of the flat. And that's,
Because you would conceivably do that even if you didn't build one single building.
right, right.
You could build the whole facility and not have a building, you just have a field.
Right,
And you would still want that stuff because people gotta get to the field, they gotta get off the field.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you.
Pathways are flat.
Never know.
That's a good point.
Actually, we did have a designer that put vistas.
Those are cool.
They were cool.
Erica?
Oh, I'm sorry, Erica, go ahead.
Erica, good morning, Fox Lane. How is this going to be presented at town meeting? Will it be two, are we having to vote on two separate things? Is it all one package? Is it?
So it will be for the funding. So it won't be, you can vote on this and that can pass, and you can vote on this and that can fail. It would be the whole package, it would be the whole renovation.
So when there will be like one number, this is the, okay.
Correct.
For the design phase.
The split package thing is really just for the bids.
Yeah.
When they actually go out to the contractors, they would say, oh, I can bid on this, and this, or this, or this. And that's the way it would be executed.
I think I made that confusing, I apologize. But
The town meeting is will be one vote.
All right, anybody else? You're off the hook, Carl.
On that.
Yeah. All right, so, which brings us to timeline. If I could just, and I apologize to the folks up at LCTV that I didn't get this to them, but I will, so that it can be at least posted with our minutes here. I do have some extra copies here, I don't know.
I have one extra over here if you need some down there.
Yeah, so there's a couple of copies if you guys want to take a peek. So this is from the town administrator. This is the 2016 special town meeting timeline. So this is important to understand as we build our timeline, I think. So that's why I printed it out and I figured we'd take a look at it. Kind of the numbers that we need to look at, obviously the 16th is the town meeting. So if we work backwards from that, in order to get our article, which is Article 5 of the special town meeting, into the packet, into the printed packet, we would need to have our numbers by the 20th, I'm sorry, by the 27th of October. So that's 20 days prior to special town meeting. Most of the other stuff, other than the warrant closing, there's already a placeholder. Article 5, we voted last night to include Article 5. The Board of Selectmen voted last night to include Article 5, which is the Alumni Field renovation construction with an estimate of $2.35 million. So that placeholder is in there. So the only dates that are kind of critical for us right now are the 27th for printing and the 16th. It is plausible that we could go forward past the 27th if we didn't have a number. We could have estimates we could hand out a supplement at town meeting when people come in. Oftentimes you end up getting the yellow sheets with the updates or the supplements or that kind of thing. That is possible. I'd rather not do that. I'd rather get it printed so people can get an opportunity to take a look at it and ask whatever questions they have between the 27th and the 16th. But that is possible. Below the table that you have there kind of lays out some of the vacations that we have in front of us as well. So as far as us scheduling meetings and that kind of thing, we need to be cognizant of those. And as far as posting meetings, we need to be cognizant of Monday holidays.
Just for clarity, Gail saw this, or they didn't see this, but it was communicated to them what the timeline was last night. So they are cognizant of this as well.
Yeah.
And he didn't start crying or anything.
Well, yeah, and I think in the interview process, we asked each of the firms if that number scared them away, and all of them committed to being able to do it, but only being able to do it if we are on our games. And to Carl's point, if when they come back to us with a question, we need to be able to get them answers pretty quickly in order for them to be able to move on a dime to meet the timelines that we need to meet.
And did you say we had their list of questions? You will tell us? Are there,
No, we do not have the
We
list of
don't have
questions.
one.
What I think we should come out with tonight is a list of things that they should be cognizant of
Right.
as they go to do the design.
Right.
Because the thing to keep in mind is that they, wasn't just them, but all three firms that came in front of us, in front of the selection committee, had good ideas, interesting ideas. That's what they wanted to have the ideas, because that's what they were selling on us, like, yes, we can do this, and we've already thought about this, and you might be able to do this, and you might be able to do that. And it was all very wonderful, except there were no dollars assigned to it. And, you know, what we want to be able to do is tell them, look, that's all well and good, but you gotta get these things done, and this is roughly how much money we think we can spend. Anything you do beyond that has to fit, you know, kind of fit in there. We have to prioritize that, we have to give them what our concerns are, our priorities, things we definitely don't want them to miss.
right,
Now, they're cognizant of some of that already, because it was communicated to them on
Yeah.
the scope of work and things like that, you know, some documentation that we gave them in the bid doc, and the proposals. So, but we just need, I think we need to get more around that, and they need it now, not later. We don't want them coming back with, you know, Xanadu,
right.
and it'll just a waste of their time, you know, so.
So we need to really dig into the scope of work.
Reasonably, I wouldn't say, we don't have to finalize things, but we gotta understand, like, what kinds of things are we considering, and get it to them, and then that'll help them get their arms around it. They'll come back clearly with questions and input, and, you
Yeah.
know, say, that's a bad idea, or, well, you'll be able to do that no matter, so don't relax, you know, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, if we decided as a committee that we wanted to make sure that we had concessions and the bathrooms underneath the bleachers, then
Right,
we could come up with that right now, we could tell them to design that. And that's, that there were some of the designers that thought that that was the way to go, and others that thought that wasn't the way to go. So there's, you know, there's pros and cons to every aspect of
And
it.
some of this is mundane stuff, like, we said we wanted a press box, and Gail was quickly to say, well, then you need ADA access to the press box. We're like, yeah, we know that. And he goes, yeah, you know, we put these lifts in, almost like a little elevator. And we're like, oh, no, we don't want that. He goes, no, sometimes that's less expensive than building this really long ramp. So we just need, you know, they're already thinking about things like that. Like, no, we can take care of you on that, don't worry about it, you know. But there's other stuff, like, do we want a fryer later and a grill
Answer
top
system.
in the concession stand, you know?
Right.
Do we want team rooms?
right.
You know, what are we willing to prioritize on in order to, so that they don't go crazy and come up with a Texas high school football
Right.
stadium?
But they'll be back and forth, obviously, because we'll say,
exactly.
well, how much is a fryer? Roughly put some numbers so we can make some
Exactly,
decisions.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Now, you could probably request that they put some of these information items in their proposal.
Right, exactly.
Like, that might be a way for us to get,
Right.
you know, some, just
Wrap our
targeted.
brains around the numbers.
Yeah, just, and be directed by them
And
a
that would
little
be-
bit. I mean, I
because-
think it's pretty common in a proposal to, you know,
But
have
we
some
should
of that
rule anything
detail.
out.
Well, yeah, we can ask.
They just
yeah.
gotta know
But that
that
would give us
they
information on
might
the
rule some
14th
things
instead of
out.
the kickoff on
Right.
the 28th.
once they realize that there is a, you know, a reasonably, you know, set budget, they might be ruling some stuff out that they
Absolutely.
that they may have already been saying, oh, that would be a good idea.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait a minute, no, it's unachievable
Sure.
in this budget.
But we need,
So-
it sounds like we have until the 28th now before we're in the room with them. And so it seems like that is plenty of time
Well, I have a
for us
question
to
about
start
that.
discussing
So,
some
but
stuff.
I have a question about that. So you guys are calling it a kickoff meeting for your role with them.
Yeah.
But it's conceivable that we could get, as long as the contract was signed, it's
Right.
conceivable they could come and kick off with us
Oh.
sooner than that,
And
right?
that's assuming we
That
call, we don't call a special meeting.
Right.
to-
Right. So we could conceivably get them before the 28th. And I think it would be good,
Yep.
when we look at this calendar, to strive for that.
Because that gives us,
So you mean the 20th?
Well, they need a
Because they're gonna
week.
meet the 14th?
They need a week to get a contract proposal in front of PMBC. So they're not gonna be able to meet with us next week, but we're hoping that maybe PMBC could approve something by, say, the 19th or the 20th. And then,
that's,
right,
they would need to have a special meeting.
they would need to have a special meeting, but then conceivably, we could get with them that week of the 21st, 22nd, something like that.
Because He said he wasn't available on the 20, we were going to do it that
Right.
Monday, and there was some conflict there, and we are going to do it
Right.
that Tuesday, there was a conflict
That was on the week
there.
of the 26th and the 27th.
On the 22nd, we can invite him to the billiards club. That's a kickoff.
That's a good
That's a
pickup.
good, but we can figure that out, and that certainly doesn't preclude anything happening tonight, but, and that, some of that's on PMBC and our chairman.
And that's, yeah, we're,
Getting that
yeah,
worked out.
that's,
So when we're talking about,
it's work.
when we're talking about getting them what we want to do, fry later, locker rooms under the bleachers, et cetera, how is that process different than what we did for the RFQ? Like we gave
Not a
them.
whole lot different.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, we've got some, like, the people that were on the selection committee got some presentations that maybe you guys didn't get. So like, for instance, all three of the designers that we brought in front of us talked about team rooms. And that, to me, was a little surprising, because we put it on there, but I thought we indicated fairly clearly that it was a nice to have and not a given that we were gonna have those. And they're all assuming that it's a given that we're gonna do that for you. I don't mind them assuming that until they see, but they gotta see the number.
yeah, right.
And then we need to tell them, well, where is that on our priority? Are we willing to give up, I don't know, 200 square feet of a concession stand to get a team room? I don't know, are we? You know, those.
And at what expense?
And what,
You know,
yeah,
so
exactly,
those
what
decisions need to
expense,
be made.
you know, because again, if we're saying, no, our priority is a really nice concession stand first, and the team room second, well, they need to know that.
Yeah.
Because then they'll figure out the concession stand and not see the concession stand at the expense, or the concession stand at the expense of the team rooms, you know? So, those are kind of the things, you're right, a lot of this we've already talked about, we've already had plenty of input on. So
But you've learned a few things. but
exactly,
they-
that's why I think we should go through it one
If
more
they all
time.
suggested a team room, it would be interesting to know, well,
Right.
what do they see when they go to other towns?
Right.
What does that,
But I think it's gonna be just a game of give and take,
Yeah,
based on,
it is.
numbers.
And Julie's
and-
right, we shouldn't take anything off the list.
Sure, yeah.
We should just be telling them what our priorities are.
Yep.
So that as they're working down, they can say, well, they told us that they need this before that, so if that's where the line is, that we cross the budget, then that's where they need to know the line is. Don't take it off, but that's like, here's where your line is, if you want that, you gotta
Yeah.
either
Yeah,
give up something, change your priority, or increase the budget.
And that all becomes reality. Once a project goes out to bid, we kind of set that line, and then anything below that line becomes the add alt list.
yeah.
Right.
And anything on that add alt list, we really have to give it some attention, because that
Right.
number one item is the first item to go. That's, once we free up the money, number one goes first, goes above the line. So if we have $7,500 to get visitor bleachers, but we have it down at number 5, and we have $7,500 available, but we have up here Ansel systems so that we can have a fryer later inside the concession stand, but that's $30,000. We can't reach down and get that $7,500 bleachers.
really?
That's the way the bid process works.
oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's gonna take us,
Can we rate it this way?
they're all equal.
I was expecting the designers too to help work through some of that with us, like, we think this, that, or the
Yeah.
other, and they're like, oh, actually, it's hard to, keep your team room or your locker
Some
room dry
consulting,
underneath the bleachers, was
Right.
one piece of
Feedback that we got, right.
and then we got the plumbing code, which is, thrown in there too. And so, I mean, there's, it's kind of, there's kind of a balance to be had between having a lot of discussion that isn't gonna mean anything because the designers know that we can't do it, or by prioritizing something, perhaps other things that you might wanna reach down for just won't happen, so. I don't know, but I do think we should maybe go through that list again and try to, just do a little more prioritizing, because I think the last time we did it, although I think we had some good discussion on it, it was several weeks ago. I think
Yeah.
especially the selection committee has a lot better information from the
Right.
presentations we sat through, and, just might get us a little farther, forward.
Right. All right. So timeline, that's where we were, right? Somebody keep me on track, ADD. Shiny objects. So as far as the timeline is concerned, I think it needs to be in conjunction with what our schedule is. So we need to kind of determine right here and now what we're gonna get done tonight, when our next meeting is going to be, and what our objective is at each of these meetings, so that we can hit the ground running, you know, when we have the kickoff, whether it's the 14th, the 19th, the 22nd at the Billiards Club, or the 28th at the PNBC kickoff. So, I think if we could all,
All right, next meeting set.
next
We
meeting is
set
set
the
for next
next-
Wednesday,
We set
correct?
the next
Yeah,
three.
14th, right?
Yeah, I think last meeting we said.
14th, 20th, 27th. They're all booked.
Right, at the police station.
Yeah.
Repeat that again, Mike?
14th, 20th, and 27th.
The 20th is a Tuesday, because that's a PNBC week, right?
Was that?
No,
No, 14th is the Wednesday.
right.
Yeah, PMBC meets again 21st.
We were going back and forth with PNBC.
Right.
altering
Right, so the
our week
reason, the
based
reason we're on
those.
that Tuesday, the 20th, is because PNBC is on the 21st.
Right.
And then, so it's Wednesday, the 14th, Tuesday, the 20th, Wednesday, the 27th.
Tuesday, the
No, Tuesday, the
27th.
27th.
Yeah.
Sorry. Because you have that meeting on the 28th as well, sorry, my bad. So, given that, I think we can do some good work tonight to try to determine where we're at. And maybe we continue that on the 14th to try to make sure that when, and we might get some communications from Gail as well, that says, hey,
Right.
we've done some work, and we think that you need to be
Right.
focused on this, this, and this.
Right.
You know, like one of
And I
the-
also think that we need to get them with us at least the first time, and then they can give us some idea of what their
Yeah.
timeline is gonna look like to actually bring back something for
They can
us.
coach us a little bit.
Exactly, so that, because like, it wouldn't shock me if we wanted to, in October, meet a couple of weeks twice, if we can get them to meet with us and allow, and especially if they're gonna have something that they can show us. And when I say us, I'm talking about all of us, so
Right.
that people can get a chance to get their input in. And then if we can meet a couple of times, and then they can go back and say, okay, we heard you, now we can lock this down and get to the 27th with a real number.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we need to meet more often than the 3 dates we've already cited for those 3 weeks. Although it'd be great to
We
get
need to-
them in here for one of
I was
them.
gonna say, do we need to change one of those dates to
We don't know yet.
add them on?
No, we gotta wait to see when the contract gets signed. Nothing can get determined on that regard until the contract gets signed. We don't know when the contract's gonna get signed.
So,
We're hopeful, but we don't know.
best case, it will be signed by the end of next week. So,
By the
PNBC meets
16th?
next Wednesday.
But their number was due Wednesday, right? Would they be able to vote on that Wednesday night?
No, they'll have to digest it and
They'll,
look at
they'll
it.
likely want to deliberate about it and sleep on it, I guess.
The earliest we would be able to meet with Gail, in my mind, is the week of the 19th.
So we
And
have-
that's
we have a meeting
optimistic.
scheduled for the 20th.
Right, that's optimistic, but it might be doable. And then what's probably more reasonable is that the 27th, but like Carl said, Gail kind of indicated that that week wasn't great for them.
And they're already meeting with them on the 28th, right?
Right, exactly. So, actually, I think we tentatively scheduled the 29th with them, but.
Did, so on the meeting of the 28th, is that the only agenda item for the PNBC,
I don't know that.
the kickoff? Okay,
Could we do a joint meeting?
that's my thought.
Yeah,
Either a joint
I think-
meeting or.
Switch the
or-
27th to the 28th?
Not sure we want to eliminate the 27th.
Yeah.
But I think.
I really wouldn't get too hung up on this. We gotta get the contract signed with them.
Right.
I would leave the calendar the way it is through the 27th, and then we can react once we know
When it's signed.
what they can do, when it's signed, and then they'll be able to tell us what they can and
When they
can't
can
do.
get here.
So,
All right. That's good advice. All right, so Wednesday the 14th, Thursday the 20th, I'm sorry, Tuesday the 20th and Tuesday the 27th. Best case, we'll try to get Gail in on the 20th if everything
right.
goes smoothly. As far as what kind of, as far as the timeline's concerned, to try to compress that and make sure that we're on path, Julie had suggested that maybe we start looking at our priorities and move some stuff around. Is that something you guys are prepared to do tonight? You want to plan on doing that on the 14th? Everybody get a chance to take out their priority list and from June?
Yeah, I could use extra time.
Yeah.
I think we'll be okay if we wait one more week and do it, but that should be the bulk of that meeting. To the point where I wouldn't necessarily say that's a good night for Mike Lynn or anybody else to come in.
Yeah.
I would say that's gonna be a good discussion, and
Chuck, can you send that, either the scope of work, or,
Yeah.
I guess it would be the scope of work that we'd need to see again?
Good suggestion, Melissa, thanks.
Can we take public input?
Well, it's only because I lost mine.
Yeah. Kelly, go ahead, sure.
Kelly Mullen, 25 Washington Drive. You were just saying that, talking about priorities and not making sure the coaches, we're not talking to coaches, but wouldn't it be beneficial to talk to the coaches before the priority list is kind of almost set in stone, to get the input from them on what they feel is necessary for their teams? Because like you said, we could talk about, team room or whatever, and maybe after you talk to the coaches, only one of all the coaches say that that's on their top priority, that they would rather have, this and this instead, or...
I think that the priorities that we're looking at are more of a global
Okay.
scope. You kind of got me thinking about it.
Yeah, I think
But,
that's a good idea.
Maybe we bring
send a
Mike,
survey?
maybe we bring Mike Lynn in,
As
not
the
to
AD.
present, but as the AD to talk about
Well, yeah.
some of the priorities that he would
Could
like to
he,
see.
so
on
Kim's
top
gonna
of
kill
the
me,
list.
so I'm not gonna look that way, but I wonder if he could gather his staff together and just review with them
Yeah.
and just,
Yeah,
I would do
Get it.
that.
come in as,
You should reach out, well, either you or I, because technically he works for me.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. How's
I
that?
mean, I can do that. I can tell him what we're thinking, and that we need some input on where the priorities are in terms of stuff like that. I do know that the priority for him is that it be a multi-sport facility that can sustain, field hockey, football, some soccer, and lacrosse. That needs to happen for him, and that's a big priority for him. But beyond that, I can ask him, like, well, on the nuts and bolts, how much equipment storage do you need? How much does it mean for you to, to be able to get the kids literally indoors?
Is lighting adequate?
Yeah, exactly, stuff like that,
we
so.
gathered that feedback.
Right. And what I can do is I can get him, not just telling me, I'll get him to,
Yeah,
and then we'll disperse that out to everybody. And that can help inform our discussion. And I will ask him, tell him that kind of needs to get done prior to next week. So.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right, so. Let's see. So as far as timeline, we've got the 14th, 20th, 27th of September, and then October, working towards that 27th date.
October 27th.
Right.
Yeah.
So Chief Lozinski is showing me up by putting together a nice, pretty timeline of kind of where he needs to be in the process. So from tonight's meeting, I'll try to put something together that looks better than his.
Fancy head.
Gantt chart.
But so I've been kind of looking at that and thinking that some of the dates are pretty similar, but I think that what he's looking to do, obviously a much more expensive, a much larger capital investment, capital project, and he's got other demands that he has to meet with the OPM, and so he's got a lot of other things on his timeline. But I can kind of use this as my boilerplate and work off of that with each of our meetings being on there, what our objective is from those meetings. And, you know,
That's a good idea. We're gonna need some input from Gail on that though,
right,
too.
absolutely.
Because we,
I can
like,
reach out to
we're
John.
gonna need to know exactly what their window is. Like, if they're like, look, we can get you the number on the 27th, but, you know, we're gonna be working, burning the midnight oil to get there. Or if they can say, oh, no, we can get to you with some preliminary stuff on like the weekend of the 10th, so that we can present it to you, get feedback, and, you know, community feedback, and then they can go back and try one more time, present it one more time. Hopefully won't make many changes after that, and then, you know, the final number comes in on the weekend of the week of the 24th, and we vote it. And then it goes in front of the selectmen. But that's the other thing, you gotta, like, when are you guys gonna,
They're gonna meet the 24th.
you meet on the 24th? But you could conceivably, we'll figure that out. They could conceivably meet to vote it. You know? But you'll have to think about that, you, the selectmen. Because you ultimately, you guys are the one who are voting the number to put on the warrant, right?
Well, it's already on the warrant.
Right, but
Do you have to vote to change
you
the
have to
number?
vote the number? Do you guys have to vote the number, or just,
Or is that just an
or
update?
we just put it
It's
in?
estimated at $2.35 million
Right.
right now, so it's, it could be amended.
Well, you see my point. We just gotta
That-
talk to Gail
again,
and
that
think
could
about
be-
it, when they can get to us and when they can get presentations done, and so I agree, a nice schematic like that will help us all stay focused on, and keep our eyes on the prize.
It'll help everybody.
But we
really.
need Gail is gonna have to chime in on some of that, so. But that can happen, you can talk to them about that. We don't need to do it in front of this whole group.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
You can dialogue with them as the chair.
All right, so can we look at October then, just so that we have kind of a roadmap as to how we get to the 27th and get that number? So Michael, you booked everything through September at the police station. Thank you. And Carl, do you know what dates so it's 1st and 3rd? So the 5th and 19th is PNBC?
21st. Yeah, should be.
Okay. So if we're meeting on the 27th, that's the Tuesday. So if Wednesday's out, we're looking at either the 4th or the 6th the following week, when's school committee?
Tuesdays are better because of school
School committee.
committee, so if that works for people.
So October 4th,
Yeah.
Tuesday.
10, 12, because PMBC does not
Yep.
meet.
12, which is a Wednesday.
10, 18.
The school committee's the 20th.
I don't know that, I'm
You're
just trying to
assuming?
avoid it, yeah. I mean, if Tuesdays are a problem, I can look. Are Tuesdays a problem?
Does anybody have a problem with Tuesdays?
Tuesdays are better for me.
All right, let's do Thursdays. Just kidding, Michael.
What is it, the 18th then?
18th is a Tuesday, and so the 27th was the meeting we already, no,
That's when it's gotta be done.
27th is the
25th.
drop dead date, all right. 27th.
So I would just leave it at that, and then we'll have to figure it out as we get closer.
What was happening on the 24th?
So the 4th and the 18th are the only dates
Oh,
so
so-
far,
okay.
right? Did I miss one?
12th.
4th and the
4,
12th.
12,
Okay.
18, and then the 27th is the date that it has to be submitted for the printer. So the 24th is the Board of Selectmen.
So the 25th?
Well,
All at
the
7:30?
question is it worth meeting after the 24th at all? Because the selectmen may have finalized all their,
I anticipate the Selectmen are gonna be having a special meeting that week,
okay.
one of those nights.
October 24th?
24th is the Board of Selectmen meeting.
But he's thinking they might have a special meeting on the 26th, because that's the last night they can meet before the warrant goes to
print.
the printers.
Yeah.
Why don't we
So-
see what happens? I mean, we've
Yeah.
got a lot of time
Yep,
between.
we
exactly.
can always
what I'm
add a
saying.
meeting, we just have to post it by Monday, so,
All right.
Friday.
4, 12, 18.
So on Tuesday, October 12th, I'm sorry, Tuesday, October 4th, Wednesday, October 12th, and Tuesday, October 18th are the meetings that we're scheduling in October. And,
We may add more.
yeah.
Stick with 7:30?
Does that work for everybody? 7:30?
Well, here's the thing, if you're gonna start getting, if you're gonna have to start talking about priorities and things like that, well, meetings might go a little bit longer, and if you're gonna have Mike come in, or anybody else come in and present, and you're gonna still go into priorities
point.
after that, your meetings, I mean, I like you guys a lot, but I don't wanna be here past 10 o'clock.
If people can get here at 7, we should do 7.
7 PM? Yep, all the September meetings as well?
Yep, I agree.
I think so, if we can.
Might be a little late on the Wednesday.
Yeah, the Wednesdays aren't great for me, but most of them seem like
I'll
they're
get here, I
Tuesdays.
just might be a little
so-
late, that's all.
Make it work.
Yeah, we'll have a quorum, so just keep it when you can. All right, Michael, can you check those dates at the
I
police
will.
station? Thank you. 4th, 12th, and 18th. Is that the best place for us to meet with Gail? Yeah, because they have all the,
Then they got the new screen.
LCTVs
They got
there.
the new TV now.
okay.
It's really nice.
All right.
Well, I'm just starting to learn the putting the room back together. Like,
No,
it's
just
finally starting
just
to
getting
get
it down,
that,
yeah.
so, we haven't
School committee
practiced
was
that.
celebrating that.
Little wellness in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
good to
And
move around
I
if
have
we're
the
sitting for
meeting set
hours.
for, the room booked for 7 for all of September too, so.
All right, great, thank you. All right, so logistics are done. We kind of checked off one of the other items on the agenda as well. So, schedule next meetings. I didn't have an opportunity to print the minutes. Did you guys,
I saw that.
are you guys comfortable with approving them? Have you had an opportunity to look at them, or?
Long
do we
time
wanna-
ago. I don't remember having any feedback. It was a
All
while.
right, I don't either. Do we want to table that, or?
I'm okay to vote on it.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, I did
let's
read
vote
through
on-
them, and
Yeah.
I didn't have any feedback, and it's been weeks.
Yeah,
So it
that's- yeah.
seems like getting
We
them
need to get 'em posted.
approved and in would be a good idea.
All right, so the last two meetings are, we had what, 7:27 and 8:24?
Are you telling me or are you guessing?
I'm telling you,
Okay.
7:27 and 8:24 were the minutes that Sheila just sent to us most recently.
Okay.
Entertain a motion to,
Make a motion to approve the minutes from July 27th?
Second.
move and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from August 24th?
Second.
Move and seconded. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? It's unanimous. All right, thank you very much. And thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
Is there anything we need to prioritize, like, not like they wanna know?
No.
No?
Nope, they didn't have any overarching questions or concerns. They had their arms around the whole thing, so. Like I say, I mean, they came back with designs already, you know, so, and they all met or exceeded what we had asked for. And none of them missed on, like, nobody missed a softball field, nobody missed that it was designed to be a multi-sport facility, things like that. They had, pretty much knew what, I mean, they all do this,
Right.
you know?
It was kind of neat to have three different presentations too, because I think the one that we all kind of looked at and said, oh, that'd be really cool if we could do that, is there was one designer that did a lot of work in the city and in very tight quarters, and they were able to kind of use the topography of some of the, there was a park in East Boston, I think it was, where they did
Yeah.
like an overlook or a vista,
Vistas.
where they had, a path all the way around the facility, and then out in the outfield was this elevated, what do they call it? A pavilion.
Pavilion, yeah.
Pavilion or a plaza. And, people could hang out there and look over the
See
field.
the
and
game.
It was,
Yeah,
it was
it was, yeah.
really, really cool, and showed one way that we might be able to do something like that at our facility. But, there's things that you sacrifice if you do stuff like that. There's a lot more site work to try to do. The grade is the grade over there right now, right? So, but it was kind of interesting to see these creative minds and, they just look at things a little bit differently than what we are used to having. We have the softball field right here, and we have the football field right here, and the parking lot goes around it, and when they looked at it and used landscaping and stuff, it was really
Yeah, it was really.
opened our eyes, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, it was kind
Got
of
us
a
to realize.
creative, yeah, it was a really nice creative touch.
Yeah.
It was nice. And I think the other thing we need to figure out is that the plumbing code kicks priorities into a little, like, we're basically required to have.
Actually, that's a good
a certain
point.
number of bathrooms.
We.
So it's gonna change.
We need to reach out to some of the other
Small
municipalities around us that have done this recently and see why, because I've yet to be in a facility around here
Right.
that has that
30
kind of
bathrooms.
number of urinals, okay?
So
So
is that a
somebody's
matter of-
figuring out how to get around it. You know,
Well,
either they're getting
you can-
waivers
you can
or
get away.
they're,
Okay.
right, or they're getting, not only are they getting the waivers like it's an athletic facility, that cuts it in half, but maybe they're getting more waivers, like, well, there are
building's
more
within
bathrooms in
100 feet,
in the building next door. And maybe that's
That
sufficient to the
counts,
purpose.
or-
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
But we
maybe
need to
Crowley
do
or
that.
somebody would know. I mean, we've got construction guys
Yeah,
on town
exactly.
boards that would know.
But we should
perhaps.
definitely reach out.
Reach out to
and
somebody
get some
to figure
information
it
on
out.
that.
So, I mean, right down the road, the Neshoba Regional
Right.
Vocational Technical School just finished their field.
Right.
And they've got, is it 2 or 4
It's
stalls?
2014. I called them as a reference.
You did?
It was 2014. They finished it.
in the women's room.
3 stalls in the ladies' room? Okay, so.
AB's the same way.
But the code,
I don't know when they finished their field.
Yeah, I mean, we could speculate a lot
Yeah, so,
about the
yeah,
code. Why
yeah,
don't we just
so,
get
yeah.
some concrete
Yeah.
information and figure
So
it out?
Rich
But
Crowley's
it's gonna,
a
but it's
good-
gonna
a good-
change, it's gonna change priorities a
no,
little
you're
bit.
right.
Absolutely.
That's a great point. Rich Crowley's a good resource, as you mentioned. He builds schools all the time. So, and then obviously, the professionals that we're hiring do this all the time. Now, they play by the rules. So if the code says they have to do X, they gotta do X. And if we have to be the party that goes after a waiver or try to find out how to build to a lesser,
But we need that question answered so we
Yeah,
can
right.
free up
Right.
money that we would like to, at least I would like to free it up.
correct. Now, by we need to look into that, I'm assuming that's me.
It's not me.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Mike Lynn.
Me too.
Just, I didn't know if we were speaking French there. All right, I'm on that.
Good.
Would
in purple.
Gail have that answer?
Gail has the answer, but this is what they do, so they have to adhere to the code. So their
No,
answer
do
is
they
going to
have,
be.
do they have the answer of, to
What
get
if-
around
This is how
this?
so-and-so-
No, they do not have the answer how to get around it.
Oh, they don't?
No, they do not. They
Well,
they have
on
the
the
answer
record,
of how to
though.
cut it in
Oh, yeah,
half.
right.
On the record, they
Yeah,
don't
he
have.
threw out 50%.
He said, they have
Yeah,
that one.
waiver for 50%.
Yeah, you can get a waiver for, like, that one is a given.
But, yeah, I mean, they're the overall designer. You need somebody who's an expert in the plumbing code and like plumbing regulation, like you
Someone that
need.
builds schools.
Yeah,
or-
you need a
So,
plumber and maybe
I think we
Rich
need-
knows
and
of
I think we
somebody.
need to get multiple viewpoints, because
Yeah.
I think it's one of those questions where everybody looks at each other and you gotta be, you gotta take every response with a grain of salt. And some of it might be, yeah, you can do it, you just gotta be willing to go talk to this guy, that guy, and submit this document, and da-da-da. And somebody might go, I forget it, we'll just build the bathrooms. So we just gotta get that information, because again, in my mind, people have not conformed to it. I don't know why or how, it could've been a timing issue, they could've been, they got to the table at the right time, and if they'd gotten there a year later, they might have been in the same boat we're in. I don't know. But I know that I haven't walked in to a bathroom that big yet. So let's go talk to some peoples
Some peoples
Right.
in the bathroom.
in the bathroom.
All right, we've got, on the schedule, we've got public input. Anybody? It's kind of been open, if you needed to say something, you could. So potential presenters, we mentioned Mike Lynn, we mentioned you're gonna talk to him and corral the other coaches. And certainly if any of the other coaches, when and if we get Mike in here, wanna come with him, or they want to do kind of their own thing.
Yep.
I mean, certainly they work for Mike, so they'd have to answer to him, but I would encourage them to do so. Like I said, I spoke with Diane earlier tonight at the polls and told her that we'd love to have her come in and tell us how she feels and what would be important to her and how it could impact her program, the field hockey program. So I do think there are additional stakeholders that were represented by Mike, but again, Mike's presentation wasn't recorded, so it didn't get out to the masses, so it might be just as powerful or more powerful to have those coaches from the individual coaches that represent the sports
So one of the stakeholders that we haven't brought in and that is not under Mike Lynn, I think, is softball. And, you know, based on kind of what Mike just said, that they've came in with some preliminary designs with the softball field in mind. You know, I don't know if that's removing it or keeping it, but I think we should get a consensus from the softball community as to what they want to do. I've had preliminary conversations with people on the board that don't like jet field, and they would just assume in the scope of this project, see it moved. Now, I've seen meetings with Selectman Carr, and he's adamantly against moving it. Knox. He's adamantly against moving it.
There's an emotional tie there.
Right,
Sure.
so I think it's, you know, I think we need to get them in to, you know, as a community amongst themselves, figure out what they want to do, and then kind of give us that feedback, and, you know, whether or not we can make it happen is a different story, but at least, you know, we'll know where they stand, whether or not they want it.
I think we need that input. I just don't know that we have the luxury of asking for it as a presentation. I think that's
sure.
something we can get from them by soliciting the input. And maybe it's just a, you know, a document that they submit to us. These are, you know, we are on board with, you know, these kind of priorities. But I'm just saying, I don't
I agree.
know that we
I
can.
just think it's important
Yeah,
information.
it is important information. I definitely agree. I think we should solicit it.
I think the dialogue has been going on, Mike, and you mentioned that you've spoken to some folks, I've spoken to.
But that's why I think it's important that we've,
Yeah, document.
get that, you
Yeah.
know, codified.
Yep.
So that we can all have it and not kind of hear it.
Speculatively.
Exactly.
Third hand, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I did it, I went to one of the planning meetings at the LAVS and happened upon it and sat in and got grilled a little bit, so. But it's definitely something that
Yeah.
we need to address.
That's a good point, though.
Haven't encountered anybody who's willing to let it go. I've encountered strong feelings to keep it.
So,
You
yeah,
know, again, it would be good to,
there are a number of people that absolutely want to keep Jet Field on that site. There are some people that want to keep it exactly where it is.
sure. Or okay if it's, as long as it's moved somewhere and
As
doesn't
long
get
as the
lost in
net-
the shuffle.
Right, as long as the net is not, we're down one softball field.
Right.
Yeah, so that's,
Yeah, 'cause the high school
that's
field's
the,
muddy.
that's the greatest consensus that I've heard.
Yeah, there's definitely two aspects of it. One is the high school's muddy, so that's a concern for the varsity athletic program. They need access to a field that they can use
Right.
earlier in the season. The other one is just volume of field to support our youth programs,
Yeah.
you know?
For all programs.
It's
Exactly.
even later in the season, that one corner of the field is frequently muddy,
Yeah.
even when it doesn't seem like
Yeah,
there's
anybody
a
can't
good.
It ain't muddy now.
And I don't believe there was
Yeah,
anything
at any
in
rate.
Gail's thinking that eliminated that field. I
No,
think it might have
none,
been a little
right.
reorientation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Theirs was to reorient it. I think the other ones were to leave it.
Um,
Kind of where it is.
The first one was remove,
was
second
it?
one was to leave it where it was,
Okay. And
with
the
the,
third one
with the
was
kind of
to-
like the vista.
Right.
And then the last one, Gail's, was to reorient it with the third baseline actually going kind of behind the end, where the end zone is now.
Right.
So you'd hit towards the school. So fewer foul balls going out into the parking lot, breaking windows.
You head towards the school?
The
So
Russell
home
Street,
home
towards
plate
Russell
would be
Street.
where, you know, the old scoreboard is that faces
Yeah.
the middle school?
Oh, that's where
So
home plate would be?
home plate would be like where that scoreboard is, where the kids all play football right now.
Oh, and you'd hit that
Oh, yeah,
way.
that's right.
Where,
You're
where,
right.
where Lava sets up the 50-50, kind of in that area, that would be kind of home plate.
So where would your entrance be to football games, son?
Let's let him show it to
That's all,
us.
yeah.
It was just an idea.
We've got
Good idea.
a 10-pound bag.
Good idea. It's a good idea.
I just, Kim,
Good, Kim.
Paul Farmstead Way. I just was wondering, with the softball field and the orientation of it, if lacrosse is playing on the lacrosse field, what are they doing about stray
They-
balls?
Yeah, they knew that they had to be able to accommodate
Simultaneous.
both sports at the same
So
time.
no one gets injured?
Correct.
Is a-
Yeah, they were very cognizant of that.
Screening.
Screen up?
Yeah.
Dome.
Yeah. They didn't really tell us what the solution is. They just told us there are solutions and we'll figure it out because we know you need to play both sports at the same time.
At the same time, okay.
No matter what we do, that's gonna be an issue,
Netting and-
no matter how we orient it. So they're all very much, they knew that.
Coach Whitcomb, do you have a question? Your hand was up. Or we just
I
pointing?
was pointing, this point is dome, I like the word dome. Nothing to do with any of the heads up there.
Wow. All right, are there any other presenters that we should have in that we haven't had in?
I would like to hear from the sustainability committee about the green, like our green community, and like that was one of the things that we set out at the beginning, was to like try to align the facility with our, green community. So, maybe Erin Healy, or, because I know she's pretty familiar with athletics too. But I would like to hear from them. If we have time, I would like to hear from them about what, just very briefly, like what that, not like a PowerPoint or anything, but just maybe come in and chat really quick about.
Just an opinion?
Yeah, like what that green community entails, and how, are there simple things we can look at, like, lights that, shut themselves off, or, I mean, I don't know specifically, but if there are simple things we can do that would help, because we get real money from that green community. Mm-hmm. So if there are, and the money you spend in your community, I believe, is tracked in that capacity. So if there are things we can do, which again could be simple, we might be looking at it anyways. It would be good to know, and it would be good for, to share with Gail perhaps, or so.
Yeah, I mean,
if we have time, I would like to hear from
We've committed to certain impacts from different departments within the town. This certainly wasn't part of it when we got the certification, but this would help us to meet that goal.
Right, and I think the things that you're actively doing are taken into account.
Right.
That's my understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll reach out to Erin and ask her if she's willing to attend. If not, if she's just willing to give an opinion on behalf of the Sustainability Committee.
Yeah, or send somebody who might have like a straddle both areas.
Yep. Okay. Thanks. Anything else? No? Last chance? No? Okay. What time's the game tomorrow night, Mike?
7 p.m.
At Alumni.
Alumni.
Under the lights.
Tingsboro.
Motion to adjourn. Second?
Any discussion? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much, folks. We will be back here on the 14th. We won't be here. We'll be at the police station at 7 p.m. on the 14th. Thank you.